Hello, everybody. I'm Ken Eastman, Dean of the Spears School of Business. On this podcast, Addison Price and I give insight on business tips and tricks, how-tos, and fun stories, hopefully. Join us for a variety of guests on your walk to class or for a quick break in your day. This is The Buzz on Business. Addie, how are you doing?
I am good. I'm excited. We have not sat down and done a podcast together in what feels like a long time with the break and everything, so I'm excited to be back. How about you?
And today, the first time ever, we have a guest on the show who could fire me. So
I'm feeling guest.
just a wee bit of pressure here, Addie. So
That's
I'm
perfect.
going to blame you for anything that goes wrong. I just want you to know that.
Perfect. I'm ready for it.
So we are delighted to have as our guest today our president, Dr. Casey Schrum. President Schrum, welcome.
Good morning. How are you all?
Great. I'm so excited to have you here. I know that your schedule is so busy, so thank you for sitting down with us for a second and making time for this.
Yeah, this is great. So this is your first podcast back in a while, and this is my first podcast as president. So.
Perfect.
Wow.
How about that?
So we'll have to have a grace all the way around.
That's right.
That's perfect.
I think we have a plaque for you when we're done,
Okay.
since it's your first one as president. We
Yes.
love to give some lovely parting gifts
Yes,
to all of
exactly.
our guests.
Exactly. That's perfect. Well, I want to kind of kick us off and just talk about your first semester as president and really ask you what has been maybe some of the things that you didn't expect as president to be able to experience the highs, the lows, the exciting moments. It has been really fun to watch from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm curious from your perspective, how has it been different than maybe what you expected?
Well, there has been so many wonderful things.
Mhm.
And the pace, first of all, is just tremendous. That was probably something that I wasn't expecting. I was told fall is going to move really fast and a lot of things happen. But until you're really jumping in, you have no idea. But some of the great things, we have had some, this was the 100th anniversary of homecoming. That was so much fun. We dedicated a statue to Barry Sanders this semester. We won Bedlam.
Yes, go Pokes.
Go Pokes. One of the things that I had never experienced was turning on the lights. So we just did that the other day. And that was so fun outside. The weather was beautiful. The library lawn looks beautiful, all lit up. The library, that was so fun. We've done a Christmas drive for veterans. So collecting, and that was student led. I had a student reach out to me. And that's been tremendous just to see the support that we have for our veterans and how many gifts. So the goal is to get a gift bag for every veteran who's in a veteran's home or in hospice in the state of Oklahoma.
Amazing.
And so that has been, something that's been really exciting to be a part of. I could probably just keep going on and on.
Yeah.
So many things have happened and it's all been so fun.
That's awesome. Good. Well, we've loved being able to, and I can say I personally have loved being able just to watch because it's really unique and a special situation to be a student while a president has kind of a turning over and there's starts to be a new president come in and just watching you take over and do such a great job. It's really fun to follow along and see you do everything.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun.
You did not have much of a honeymoon when you started, right? Did you
I left out some of those things, didn't I?
The conference is imploding, the Delta variant's going nuts. How did you kind of cope with that? And did you ever think, maybe this was a bad decision on my part?
Well, I kind of made a joke about those that were in the finals that didn't get the job. They might be celebrating. No, that was, I think, a surprise. So that's the one thing. What has happened that you don't expect? You never expect the unexpected, which is, obvious. But I don't think anyone expected the OU and Texas to leave the Big 12.
No.
I certainly didn't. And that really took up a significant amount of time, a lot of uncertainty. You have a lot of attention focused on, what's going to happen at Oklahoma State, where are we going to go? And I think what really happened by the way that played out was it was leaked out and then it was announced that they were leaving. And everyone expected, where are you going to go? And those kind of decisions take so long. It's not something that happens quickly, and it really shook up all of the landscape of of football across, all of college football. So all conferences were trying to process, everyone was. And so that was certainly something that took a lot of time. And of course, Chad Weiberg and I started on July 1st. That happened on July 21st. So we had about 20 days. And I always give him a hard time and tell him that he's the problem child on the leadership team, because every time he shows up, I'm like, what happened, Chad? But it was a good opportunity, I think, for our OSU family to rally. I think we've seen people really get behind OSU athletics. Obviously, we've been having a great season in football. Bedlam, the environment inside of the stadium was just tremendous. And that's, really because of the Cowboy family. Then, of course, while all of that was going on, we started seeing an increase in our COVID numbers. And I think everyone had really gotten to a place where we wanted to be back to normal. I mean, we felt like we were back to normal. And so it was just an adjustment from, okay, here we go again. And, everyone's fatigue and stress levels are high, and just trying to work through that. How do we start to look at this as not, a pandemic that happened and it's over? This is kind of endemic. How are we going to structure ourselves going forward to be able to respond when we see these things? And I do think, from the students' perspective, when the numbers started to rise, I think they started to get really nervous about, are we going to go back to the way it was? We just want to experience, football and experience all the, the life, the college life. Balancing that with having to be in the classroom and how to, faculty and staff. I mean, how do we balance all those things? So those are things that probably college presidents don't experience in their tenure, let alone in their 4 months or first month or two. So I think that took up so much time in really just, part of really being in that leadership role is trying to communicate. And there's so many people to communicate with, and just ensuring that happens, that it just takes up a lot of time. So,
right. Yeah. Well, I feel like too, thinking about just all the stressors that happen in everyday life, and on the podcast, we try and aim it towards and gear towards our students that are becoming young professionals and hopefully successful professionals once they graduate. And I feel like you would probably have some really great insight just about how to time manage and how to handle those situations. But even more so, how do you find time to rest and collect yourself and take on those situations head on? Because as president of a university, that is something you have to do so frequently. So is there any advice that you would give, or anything that helps you in particular just relax and decompress and be ready for the next day?
I have always said, even in, my career, just, having a family, 6 children, and having a pretty demanding career, the one thing that I always tell people when they're saying, well, how do you do that? I always tell them the easiest thing to do is to give 100% to your job and 100% to your family, and neglect yourself. Because, you have a lot of pride in those two things. And if you're not careful, you kind of run out of steam because you're not paying attention to taking care of yourself, having those moments again to recharge or just to sit and reflect. And this is in every new experience, there's, a learning time period of, okay, how do I do that? Because in every circumstance, it's, a different environment. And so, for me, exercise is something that I have always done as a way to just, get rid of stress, have some time. My husband and I work out together. And so that's something that we've done, spending time with our family, trying to set aside time to say, okay, no matter what's going on, this is going to be a priority. And that's something, to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out. You get into normal schedules, and for me, that's always made things a little bit easier for me, is once you get accustomed to what is happening, having those set times, and you build a schedule around it. So, but it is that's, what you have to do. And sometimes you have to decide, what are you going to say yes to? and say no to, and having priorities. So having those set priorities for yourself is what, I always have to go back to and say, okay, every once in a while I have to sit down and say, what are my priorities? You can say yes to something every minute of the day, but how are you doing from a time allocation perspective compared to those priorities that you've set for yourself?
Right.
Yeah, and I think an additional stressor, being first, is also a stressor as well. And since you are the first female president of OSU, have you found anything that maybe was, particular to that you've either had additional pressure or stress? I've talked to a lot of female faculty, staff, and students who are just thrilled, right, to have you as a role model, and it really inspires. But that also then puts, I think, additional pressure on you. So how do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, I think it does in some regards, because, there are certain things that people just attribute to a president because it's all been a male. And so, being the first female, it's like, you're not really being compared to anybody, and you really don't have anybody to compare yourself to say, okay, well, this is how, this happens. So for me, I'm always thinking about, okay, what do I need to wear in this circumstance? Where do I need to, wear to be professional in this circumstance? And so, that's been a little bit of a different, thing for me. And, for the rest of it, I guess, I've always been in probably a predominantly male, profession, medicine. It's getting more and more, which is great. So I probably don't think about it as much, but I would say that's probably the one thing that I'm, more thoughtful on, is just making sure that I'm always.
Yeah. My wife, when we have events, she'll say, what are you going to wear? I said, a suit. She goes, oh, yeah, it's all right. You're no help. That's all right.
Exactly.
And, yes, that's it. And, from, working in orange, I can't just throw on a tie.
Absolutely.
So I want to always, represent an orange, but I have to be kind of thoughtful about it. So in order to do that, I'm constantly, trying to think about, okay, how do I work that in every
well, and Mike, if you look at up and down the line, women leaders tend to be judged more on what they dress, how they look, than a guy.
Yes.
Right? A guy could wear clothes from the 1950s and no one will say anything, right? So I think there is that double standard that exists and puts more pressure on you to do that.
And I think that's because it's so, for men wearing a suit, that's pretty uniform. So, that for women, dressing professionally can mean, many things. And so I think that's where it does become something that you're more judged on than, someone else, a male colleague.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like too, orange as a statement piece can be really difficult and it's not necessarily the easiest to find either. So shopping for those things and looking for those orange statement pieces and accents and everything can be really difficult. I love your coat today.
Thank you.
Yes, it's really fun.
Yes.
I want to switch gears a little bit and ask kind of a fun question. In the book, in the movie, National Treasure, there's the Secret President's book that Nicolas Cage finds. I don't know if any of you are.
I have seen it.
Okay. So I'm curious, is there any sort of thing that's passed down among presidents, or any sort of even advice maybe that's passed down that was helpful starting, or maybe a secret book of sorts, or things that is a president's secret that I know you could share it with us, then it wouldn't really be a secret.
That's what I was going to say. I can't tell. I can't tell you, because then the secret's going to be gone. What I have found is that I have been able to interact, with Burns Hargis, with Jim Halligan, and they have been very open to give advice and be very supportive. But both of them have said, it's your time is different. We want to be supportive, however,
right,
but stay out of your way, because it's everybody's time in tenure is going to be different. And so that's been it's nice to just have, someone you can just talk to. But I don't know that there's any secrets. I will say the one thing that, it is kind of interesting is that in the president's office, it looks like a wall, but there is a door.
Ooh.
Yes.
We're finding out new things.
I
No
don't
one
know if I
really.
was supposed to tell that.
I've
but
never noticed
Now
that.
you have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of like it looks like the wall, but it is a door.
That's pretty neat. I think that's
Mhm.
really cool. That really, I mean, that satisfied my question.
Okay,
It
I
did.
knew that would be the one thing
It
that I
did, it
could
got
say
me.
because I thought it was kind of neat. Whenever I was like,
Yes.
I was meeting with President Hargis. He went. I was like, whoa, that
It
is
disappeared. Yeah.
that's a secret door.
That's perfect.
Exit stage right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, when you think of leadership, what are some of the qualities of leadership you try to aspire to and hold to?
hmm Well, number one, I would say integrity. I think that's the most important thing. Communicating clearly, being true to your values and the values of the institution. I think that's very important. And that's always something that I've looked at when I'm looking at jobs. Do my values line up with the values of the institution? Because if they don't, there's a mismatch right away. I think a good leader listens. And that's something that I, try to do is really listen to the people that are a part of Oklahoma State University. And I think good leaders are strategic. They're thoughtful. Displaying empathy is important as a leader, and then empowering people around you to lead. And but being, I think, very in doing that, you have to be very clear about the direction that you want to go, because just empowering people doesn't necessarily move an organization forward.
Well, since you mentioned, let me follow it up. I know that we're going to start the strategic planning process soon. What do you hope is produced by that?
Yeah, I would like for just coming out of that, for us to have a clear direction of here's where we want to go in the future, and to have goals for the university as a whole. But I really, to me, there's a lot of things facing higher education today. Some of the challenges, enrollment cliffs, increasing cost, relevance. You hear many people saying, what's the relevance of higher education? I believe Oklahoma State University is very well positioned to be the premier land grant university. I think the land grant mission is really the answer to what people are seeking. I mean, if we go back to really focusing on what does access mean? How do we make ourselves more accessible, affordable? How do we utilize our resources both in an educational perspective and from a research perspective to provide a workforce that's prepared and ready for the future? What is it that we need to do? What do we want the ideal graduate to look like from Oklahoma State University? What are the, not just the education, but what are the experiences that we know sets our students up for success? And then how do we utilize our intellectual horsepower that we have here at the university and resources to solve society's most pressing needs? That's what makes us relevant in today's societies, because we have some real issues that are important to our state, to our nation, and how can we really focus on solving those problems? And then going to the extension piece, how do we take that knowledge out and make our state and our world a better place?
Yeah. I think it's amazing. Obviously, you can see why you're president. Whenever you just listen to you talk, and just even the goals and the challenges that you're ready to face and overcome, it's really inspiring to hear. And I hope that our students that are listening to this feel just as inspired as well. Last question before we get to kind of more of a game, something a little bit more fun.
Okay.
I want to know, what do you feel like is a quality? We talked about the qualities of a great leader, but what do you feel like really defines success, and how can students start to, as they enter the workforce and as they're starting to tackle finding jobs, what is a way that they can kind of measure success in their own hands and in their own realm?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say one thing to, achieving success. Failure is not the opposite of success. Mm-hmm. We all fail. And I think many times on our way to success, we stop because we're afraid of failure, or failure is the ending point. It's not. It's a moment to learn, and we've all experienced it. And so when I talk about success, I always want to say that because I know that there are, sometimes we're just scared to put ourselves out there or to, really stretch beyond our comfort zone. But that's when we can achieve great things. So setting goals for yourself and, having dreams, that's the first point of that. Success means many things to many people,
Right.
but it really is determined by what is the goal that you have set for yourself. And, to me, when you're achieving those goals, that's when you've achieved success. And I would say if you are not a little bit scared of your goals, like if you set a goal and you're like, I've got it, no problem, that's not big enough. You should look at that goal and say, oh, I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous that this is not going to happen. And yes, you will have to work hard to get there. And maybe you don't. But if you're setting your goals and your sights just a little bit further than you think you can achieve, you're going to go much further in life. And you're going to attain things that you could not have imagined you could. It takes courage to achieve success. And it takes self-confidence. And sometimes just being self-assured and within yourself to, again, like I said, recognize, well, this, maybe I failed at this, but it's not the stopping point. Those challenges are going to happen on the way to success. So.
I like that you talked about the nerves and being almost fearful of your goals. And someone told me one time that whenever you're nervous, that just means that you care. And that's something that now I say all the time to myself. Anytime I start to feel those butterflies or start to have nerves or nervous energy, I always just remind myself that it's a good thing because it means that I care and it means that I'm passionate about what I'm going after. And if I wasn't nervous, then maybe I don't care as much as I should.
And likewise, you can't display courage if you're not afraid.
Exactly.
Right? If you're not afraid, then the courage is irrelevant. So.
Yes.
I mean,
Awesome.
it's much easier to kind of stay in your comfort zone and just do the things that you know you're good at, but we don't grow inside our comfort zone.
Right.
And so just pushing outside of that is important. And to recognize that sometimes on your, my goals throughout life have changed. Even my career goals have changed. And so it's a journey. Life's a journey. Don't expect success in short term. I mean, unless you're setting, some short term goals, but, that's part of the beauty of it is that, sometimes when you set a destination, you get to go a lot of other places before you get there.
That's awesome. Should we
All
head
right.
into our fun
Yeah, that's
little
right. Ready for
segment?
rapid fire question time.
Yes.
Oh.
So we'll throw out different topics and different rapid fire questions. We'll kind of go back and forth and throwing them at you. And then the first thing that comes to mind, the first thing that you like out of the two options, whatever it may be, feel free to blurt it out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll start us. Okay. Favorite dessert.
Ice cream.
Oh, I'm with her.
Love it.
All right. Worst subject in school.
Typing in ninth grade. I'm glad typewriters are gone.
I took typing in high school to meet girls, but I did learn how to type.
Well,
So-
that was my problem. There was a boy behind me that I kept turning around wanting to talk to. So
That's so awesome. Favorite movie.
Blindside,
Ooh, good one. Really good one.
Summer or winter?
summer. I don't like the cold.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm gearing up right
I'm
now.
always cold.
72 on the first day of December was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset,
Awesome.
Coffee or tea?
chai tea.
Oh,
Mhm.
Really good one.
Yeah.
I like a chai tea
Vanilla chai tea latte.
too. Ooh, never done it with
Yeah.
vanilla. Okay.
Mhm.
Have a new order to try.
Yes.
Random one. Favorite number and why?
11. That was always my softball number.
Awesome.
It was my
Oh.
uncle's baseball number.
Really?
And I was really young, and we went to his baseball game. He was dating my aunt, and I was like, I thought he was kind of cute.
Mhm.
And then when I started playing, it was like, I'll be number 11. So that's my number.
That's perfect.
All right. You can't include Stillwater. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Well, so I would live in Coweta, Oklahoma. And not because I think it's the most beautiful place in the world. There are some very intriguing places that I would love to go see, but family's important to me, and my family's there, and it's where I grew up, and so that would I mean, if I had to choose, that's where I would choose. I'd go visit a lot of other places, but I would live in
A
Coweta.
big plug for Coweta.
That's
I
right.
know. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
A
you know.
proud Okie.
I told them I was going to increase their tourism, right?
There you go.
You're on your way.
Yeah.
Okay, last one in the rapid fire question: heels or flats?
Oh, heels.
I love it. You know,
For
I put
sure.
it in there because in your Instagram bio, it does say that you're passionate about heels.
I am.
And I did it almost to test to see how passionate you were.
You ask my husband; he'll tell you. I
love it.
I have moved him out of many closets because of my heel collection. So
Awesome. Good.
All right. So word association.
Yes.
So the first thing you think of when you hear Pistol Pete.
the shotgun firing.
I'm prepared for it every time, but it still makes me jump.
Yes.
Every single time. I mean,
Yeah.
even I went out on the field and they were like, "This is going to be really loud. Do you need earplugs?" And I was like, "No, because I know it's going to happen." And then I jump, every single time.
The first thing you think of when you hear the word Christmas.
The birth of Jesus Christ.
Good. Yes, absolutely.
New Year's Eve.
Champagne.
Love it. Bedlam.
Victory.
There you go. Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
OSU traditions.
Homecoming.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You have to think of him.
Walk
I think you got
around.
those all right.
I know.
I'm not sure, but we'll have to go to the judges, but
You
I think
passed.
you did.
Okay.
So,
On our
Very good.
scale, you passed.
right.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It truly was an honor to sit down with you and just get to know you a little bit more. I hope the students that listen to this really enjoy it and kind of can gain some wisdom and some insight from you. You clearly are a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so honored that you're our president.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I just hope I'm not fired after this.
No,
that's just
no.
that.
Safe
But no,
for today.
we are thrilled to have you in charge and very excited to see what comes next and willing to work with you and take OSU to a whole nother direction. And I have to say, all the alums I've talked to think that OU leaving the conference is the best thing for us. The initial shock, but they all think finally, and I know you and I have talked, that we can forge our own path.
And I will say I'm very excited about the new Big 12 and what that looks like for us and where we can go. And this is our moment in time to capitalize and be who I think Oklahoma State University can be and say goodbye to the Sooners and the Longhorns.
That's right.
No better way to end the podcast. Go Pokes.
Well, thank you
Exactly.
again, President Shoreham, for being with us. Really enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing you next time on The Buzz on Business.
See ya.
Great.
Yay.